Hello, welcome. Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Maria Marquis, in case you don't know who I am, if you haven't attended one of our crowdcasts in the past. And here at Coda, I focus on customer education. So, in other words, how can we help people like you be as successful as possible using Coda and really helping you understand how it all fits together so you can apply it to solve the business and or life problems that you might have that you're working with. So this series that we've been hosting is all about how can you create a basic Coda system to run your business. So back in session 1, we chatted about creating a company wiki to store all of that tribal knowledge and information that your company has. Session 2, we connected that wiki to an OKR tracker to keep everybody accountable to goals. Session 3, we connected that OKR tracker to team task trackers, showing how you can use crossdock to really build a little bit of a spoke model to everybody's teamwork. And today, we're going to focus on meetings. How can you use Coda to help manage your meetings in a better way, particularly if you have distributed teams and folks dialing in from multiple different locations? So what I'd love to do, just a quick bit of housekeeping here before we dive in, just notice on the right, you've got a chat field. You can go ahead and use that at any point in time today. But if you have a question, please do use the Ask a Question button right down there below my face. That way I make sure I don't lose it and I can do my primary job today, which is to make sure you leave with all of your questions answered. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've got a doc going for today, and I love it if when you see it, please post a yes, I can see it, some kind of signal over there in chat so I know that we've got everything we need here before we get started. So if you can see my screen, please type yes or some other affirmative over there in chat so I know we have everything we need from a technical perspective before we get started. All right on. Also, if you're the type of person who likes to learn by doing, please feel free, click on that link that's over there in the chat field, and you can use that to jump on in here and play along with me as we go through. Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. Fantastic. And what I'd love to do, just to start us off, to make sure I can customize today's session, go ahead, post a chat for me. What is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to meetings? So go ahead, add your biggest pet peeve that you have when it comes to meetings over there in chat. What drives you crazy? Let me see if we've got any agreements here. Me personally, I hate when people aren't coming prepared and we spend the first 5 minutes going, wait, what are we talking about? Oh, who's this? Do we know? Oh, well, here, let me just catch you up on everything. I hate when that happens. And we can oftentimes design our Coda system when it comes to meetings to help us address those pet peeves, which is why I ask. So feel free, let me know at any point in time. I understand we might be feeling a little bit shy here today. Yeah, oh, I love this. Right. Everyone getting a chance to share. Do we have equality in the room? Or is it, some people are heard and some people aren't? Totally. Yeah. So planning our time so that everyone can have a voice. Totally, Jennifer. I totally agree. So let's take a look at how we can start to create this meeting system to help us out. So if we think about a meeting manager, I always recommend taking some time to think about what does our meeting tracker actually need to do for us. We don't need to add a bunch of bells and whistles if they're not going to be part of our day-to-day. So I always like to think about before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting, what does it need to do for us? So what I'd like to show you first is how we can really set up a pre-meeting reminder to make sure that everybody comes prepared and ready. So let's go ahead and we'll expand the side here. I'm going to make a new section to start us off. So we're going to create a new and choose section right here. And we're going to call this Team Meeting Hub. And you can call it whatever you like. Notice you can always decide to add an icon just by clicking up here and selecting from some of the pre-made ones, but you can also just search for ones that you like. I personally like that we do have a Vulcan, I believe, in here. Yes, a little Dr. Spock, a little Vulcan here. Let's get a little bit Star Trek with us today. The other thing that you can do is you can always decide to add a cover photo. So if you want to have kind of a team look, you can go ahead and just click on that. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to choose from Unsplash. I have a big golden retriever, so I'm going to search for golden retriever here. And oh, this one looks great for our team meeting. So now you can start to add kind of a team feel. So in this case, what we want our weekly team meeting to do is we want it to be a bit of a status update. We want to know what everyone's working on and also what blockers they have. So I'm going to create a starting area, a starting structure that we can then use to have everybody be prepared. Also, just as a reminder here today, I'm not going to stop and ask, are there any questions? I'm going to assume that if you have a question, you're just going to let me know by either popping it into chat or clicking that ask a question button right below my face. Again, there's no such thing as an interruption in my virtual sessions. So please, anything Coda related, fair game, I'm here to support you. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a table that we can use to keep all of our people in so that we can have that status update. So I'm going to type a backslash and just start typing table. And notice Coda is going to pull up all of the things that meet that result. So I can just click on table and add it. Now, if you're not really a keyboard shortcut person, no problem. No one's going to hold that against you. You can always go up here and click the red plus sign, and all of the things you can add are there as well. So it's really just a matter of personal preference. Let's go ahead and collapse this side list just so we've got a little bit more space here. So I'm going to make a new table right here. And I'm going to call this Team Updates. So the first thing I want to do is I want to have the person. And then I'm going to change this column format to be a people column. So we'll go here, we'll change the format. And instead of just a plain old text field, we're going to go here and choose people instead. So now what we can do is we can have a drop-down menu, and notice everybody who is part of this doc with me, who's joined, I can use them in that picker. So we can have Maria, here we go, Jennifer, welcome to the team, and Anonymous Oval, welcome as well. So we've got our little team list. So now we can decide, what do we want to know from our teammates before the meeting begins? So for the status update, maybe one of the things I really want to make sure we have is like goal for the week. So what is the big thing you're working on? Maybe I want to have the blockers. So like any blockers or things that are getting in your way. And maybe I also want to have just like your team mood, right? How are you feeling? Because particularly if you're working in a distributed team, you don't always know like how that person's feeling because you're not sitting right next to them. So it can be helpful to have a bit of a sort of a mood tracker here. And for that, I really love to use the scale column format. This allows you to add a little bit of an iconography instead of just like a basic number. It adds a little bit of flavor, which I personally enjoy. So I'm going to click on scale, and we can change this format too. Every column format inside of Coda has its own little menu, that format column, that allows you to decide how you want it to work. So I'm going to click on that right here. In this case, my team, we always use the coffee cup icon in our status updates. That's just something we've chosen culturally on our team. But notice all of the other icons you can choose from. Just to make this feel like home, I'm going to use the coffee cup, and we could have it be on a scale of 5, 3, 7, 8, all the way up to 10. So entirely up to you as far as how many coffee cups truly decide how you're feeling that day. So I'm going to stick with 5. And we'll call this, how are you feeling? And maybe what I want to do is I want to include an out of office, because maybe we've got some folks who need to run to the school to pick up their kids, or we have some people who are going to be out dealing with something else. But it's helpful to know like when are people going to be online. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to choose a select list this time because we don't want to have some people typing M, some people typing Monday, some people typing Mon. We want it to be just a very clear set of menu options. So we'll choose new. And we're going to call this out of office. And here, what I can do is I can click on that column. Again, every column has its own format column menu. Just click right on that, and I can choose the items that people can choose from. In this case, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So now I've got a nice little set of options. And if I click on this drop-down menu, notice we've got all of those right there. Now, maybe I want to allow for people to choose multiple things. Maybe I'm going to be out of the office on Wednesday and Thursday. Well, what I can do is go back to, you guessed it, the good old-fashioned column format menu right here. And I can choose allow multiple selections. By toggling that on, people can select as many as they like. So now we've got this little basic structure. But what I want to do is I want to make it really easy for people to make some updates to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a button. I love adding buttons to my Coda docs because it just makes it so much easier for people to interact with things quickly, and it feels a lot more just like a regular old app you might have on your phone, for example. So again, I could go up here to the plus sign and choose the button option. But I can also just type that backslash and choose button. There we go. We've got new buttons right here. And now I can set up how I want this button to work. The first thing I want to do is I want to name it. So this is going to be called our update button. And then I'm going to say, well, what should the button's label be? So it's update your status, or whatever I want it to be. Notice I can always double check my work up here as well. Then I decide what should this button do. And there's tons of things Coda buttons can do. But in this case, all I want to do is I want to add a row down there to the bottom. And in this case, the table is going to be the team updates. And I want to have maybe a preset value here. In this case, the person, I want this to automatically be connected to whoever is logged in. So I'm going to say equals the user. So now anytime the person pushes the button, that person column's automatically going to be updated. And we can open this row for editing just to create more of a form-like experience, which I'll show you in a moment. And then of course, adding some color. I kind of want to match our coffee cup. So I'm going to have it be red and the coffee cup. So now we'll go ahead and just remove some of these tables here, not tables, rather the rows, just like so. So now when I click on this button right here, it's going to open that row for editing. So notice it expands it out. I've got this nice little form. I can put my goal for the week is host 5 webinars. Maybe a blocker is I need someone to co-host. Who's in? And how are you feeling? I'm at 4 coffee cups. It's a Friday. And then I could say when I'm out of the office, in this case, Wednesday and Thursday. So now I can close this row and notice my update is now added. So everybody on the team could do this. And then at the end of the week or during our team meeting, we've got this all here. So the idea is that we want to create this basic structure for gathering status updates. So now what we can do, if we head back to our agenda for today, is we can start to create some automated reminders. So we have the feeling, we have what's your focus for the week, your goals as part of that structure. But now we want to do some automation. Because I am of the opinion that anytime you can have Coda run a process for you, so you don't have to be the nag, or you don't have to try and remember, oh, that's right, we're supposed to make our updates every Monday. Anytime you can have Coda do some of that work for you, I am totally in favor of it, because we all could use more time in the day. So what I'm going to do is under my team meeting hub, I'm going to decide to add a automation. And here's how that works. I go up here to the gear menu, which is our doc settings. So this is where we decide all the DNA of how our doc is going to function and work for our team. And here I'm going to go to automations, just like that. I'll choose add a rule. And I'm going to name the rule, again, mostly just so future me knows what this rule is about. I don't have to click into it to try and figure out what it is. We'll call this the weekly reminder. And now I decide what should trigger the rule to start. So when something happens, what do I want to occur? And here I'm just going to choose when. Notice our triggers can be when rows are changed in tables, but also time-based, which in this case is going to make the most sense for me. So by doing time-based, I can choose every hour, the day, the week. I can also have it repeat. So maybe I want it to be Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays. I could do that. But let's say that our team meeting is on Monday at 10 a.m. So I could go ahead and have a reminder happen every Monday at 9 a.m. Then what I want to do is I want to notify people. And in this case, I could choose specific users or all of the team updates. So I can choose the specific users, select everybody here in our team. And then the message could be, don't forget to update your status before the meeting. Happy Monday, or whatever we want that reminder to be. In this case, we have it just being sent via Coda, but you could also decide to notify people via Gmail or Slack if you use those tools by connecting the Coda packs here. But I like to just keep it simple as a starter place. You can always add those packs later. So now, once we turn this on, this now is going to take care of sending that reminder for us. So again, we don't have to. Also, remember, at any point in time, you can pop those questions into Ask a Question, not a problem there. So feel free, those of you who are in the doc with me, go ahead, click on that button, update your status, and let's see what happens when we have multiple people in this table. Again, you can just click on that update your status option right there. All right. So that's our pre-meeting, right? The pre-meeting is all about making sure that everybody is ready for it. That we've got this idea of, okay, how's everybody doing? We know how people are. We can see what the things we need to talk about are in the blockers. We also know like what people are working on, which can help us answer those questions. Awesome, Jennifer is adding hers. Beautiful. So now what we might want to do is we might want to start thinking about during the meeting, how can we really make sure that we're managing our notes? So when it comes to note taking, even though it's something rather simple, something everybody does, everybody's kind of got their own preferences. So I like to always make sure that we've got multiple options that you all can choose from. Awesome. Jennifer's going to help the staff work with online tools. There's some communication blockers, and Tuesday is hers. She is ready to go. Nice. Excellent. Well done, Jennifer. Beautiful. So when it comes to our notes, we can do it in a few different ways. So the first way I'm going to show you is just by doing text. So kind of raw notes, text, infinite scroll, and I'll show you how that works. So maybe what we want to do is we want to have a signal that we've got a notes repository happening down here. So we could just make this a large heading. And then what we could do is we could put the day of our meeting. So maybe Monday, April 6th. I think that's the next Monday we have coming up. I'm going to make this into a bigger header. So we'll make it an H2. And then we can just start typing our notes. We could keep typing. We can include all of the things here fully. And then when that meeting is done, what we can do is we can click on this little shish kebab right over here, and we can collapse that content. So we could always decide to see it at a later date. But then when we have our next meeting on Monday, April, I don't know, how 13th, is that what it's going to be? Yeah, 6 + 7. There we go. We could go ahead and make that a large heading again, and we could just start typing again, and then again, collapse things out. So that's like the easiest way to get started when it comes to raw note taking. The other thing I just want to draw your attention to is that under this option, notice you can do checklists, you can do numbered lists, quotes, bulleted lists, all the different heading types. You can also include hyperlinks to various things, emojis. So all kinds of the basic text editing functions that you're used to seeing elsewhere are all here just right off the page, and you can just start typing that way. So that's the first option, kind of this idea of a raw note-taking capability. But sometimes people like a little bit more structure. And if that's the case, you might want to think about doing a notes table. So this is actually how we do it on my team. We have a table for our notes, and we do a little bit of a hybrid here. So I want to just show you how this works. We're going to go ahead and just make a little space here. And I'm going to do that little backslash trick for table and select it. We're going to create a new table here. We're going to call this note repository. And then here we could do the date, attendees, notes, and have it be there. So now what we could do is we could change this column format, in this case, to be a date column, just like that. And the attendees, we're going to have this be that people column again. So we'll change our format to be people. And then we've got our notes area here. So great, we're having a meeting right now on the 3rd. The attendees are me, and also we got to turn this on to be multiple selections. There we go. So we could do great, Maria, Jennifer, and Anonymous Oval. I also really like whenever you've got an attendee column where there's going to be multiple people, to just go ahead into that format column option and to choose display avatar only. Notice it then just shows our faces over here, and that just kind of makes a cleaner look. I just personally like that a little bit better. So now we've got this notes area. Now you could start typing all of the things right in here. That's not a problem. You can also open up that big cell and be able to type notes. But something that we generally do is we include an area for raw notes. And then here's where we can just start typing. And then at the end of the meeting, all we do is we just cut. So we go Command X since we're on Macs, but if you're on a PC, you can do Control X. And then we just paste it into the notes area so that we've got that as the aftermath. So you're not dealing with like a big long cell. Then what you can do is you can decide, well, I want to hide those larger notes columns so I can just see the full list of the meetings. And then anytime I want to look at the notes, I can just expand the row and see all of the details by doing the show hidden columns. So you can have that connection. And the other thing I really like about it is that then by having the notes in this more structured format, you can go ahead and also have a comment thread. So I could be like, oh, at Jennifer, what did you think of the results of the survey? And when I do that, Jennifer's going to get notified that I've said that. We've got this thread here in context with the notes. So this is just, again, another option. Neither one is better or worse than the other. It's really about you and your team and what's going to make the most difference for you. So again, just pick whichever one that you like. All right, so let's head back to our agenda, see how we're doing. I'm going to pop right in there. Great, we've done our notes in a table, our raw notes, and the combination. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we can also add images to our notes. So this is something I find really helpful if you're doing any kind of all hands meeting and you want to do a little bit of a presentation. And this is actually how we do things here at Coda. So at the end of every week here at Coda, what we do is we do our weekly demos, which is the opportunity for every team in the company to share the successes they've had that week, what they've been working on, and really just like celebrate together how we're doing. Awesome. And it looks like I have a notification. Very cool. Awesome. Jennifer tells me great insights. I'm so glad that you think so, Jennifer. I appreciate that. I would also get an email letting me know that Jennifer's weighed in on that comment. Beautiful. So what we do oftentimes is we do the sharing of screen to show a demo in real time, but sometimes we just want to create kind of almost like a presentation feeling. So what we do is we add a column, and in this case, we would add an image column here. So we can choose to upload an image directly or use URLs from the internet. But the image now allows us to go ahead and add different images. So maybe what I want to do is I want to show how we are talking about the different note types. So I can just grab a little screen capture here. I'm just going to do a little screenshot. And I'm going to click on this little plus sign right up here and head up here, grab that screenshot from today. Nice. It now gets uploaded into that cell. And notice we can add more images. So now in the meeting, when we're presenting, we can just open up that row and we get a nice big image here, and we can actually page through every image that we've got if we have multiple ones. So this is how we actually present a lot of things here at Coda, by creating like different slides, if you will. So a great way to kind of bring things together if you're trying to share options or share press clippings or share maybe a GIF of how a new process is working. So a really fun thing to add that I personally find a lot of benefit from, mostly because it just streamlines screen sharing too. You don't have to go from one screen to another, to another, to another. You can just open up that row and use that for the full context of everything that you've been talking about. All right, nice. So the next thing I want to take a look at during the meeting is how we can actually manage questions and action items. So Jennifer, you had mentioned at the top, one of your big pet peeves is how do we get everybody to be able to share? So this is something I really, really love. And again, something that we use here at Coda all the time. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to create a question moderator, if you will. So what we've done is we actually have this as just an ad hoc template that you can add at any point to any doc. And the way that you can get to it is, again, by going to your red plus sign up here and choosing Show Templates. Or you can also do that handy little backslash and start to search for templates as well. So you've got the templates down here at the bottom. You can see all kinds of good stuff. In this case, I want to choose the question moderator. And I recommend just like start typing, see what's there. There's lots of things under the hood. So the question moderator is a super valuable tool because it allows you to decide this is how we're going to gather everybody's insights, and it allows people to upvote things that are important to them. So you can get a bit of a heat map of how people are feeling about certain topics. So notice here, we've got the ability to, let's just remove some of this flavor text. We don't need that. So what we've got here is we've got the ability for people to add a question, put in the notes for the discussion around it, so for note-taking capabilities, and also this ability to upvote. This question is more important to me. So let's go ahead and also add what I think is a helpful addition to this, which is a button. Again, just like we did for the button to add your status update, we're going to make a button here so you can ask a question. So we'll call this the question button. The label will say, ask a question. The action, just like before, will be to add a row, in this case, to the table of the question moderator table. And we don't need any preset values, and we'll open the row for editing just to make it easy for people to update their questions. All right, and let's actually add some color here too. Pink, that sounds good, and maybe a chili pepper. I don't know, why not? So we'll go ahead and remove these blank rows just by clicking on them and deleting. Oh, undo, we don't want to delete everything. So what I'll do now is I'll just click on Ask a Question, and I can say, what is your favorite breakfast food? A very critical work question here. And now we've got that all set up. So great, now we have this question, and now everybody else can decide to upvote this question if they also have that same question. And then what the host could do is they could then decide to sort this in ascending order or descending order, rather. And that is going to then show me how many people we've got asking those questions. So now as we go through, instead of it always being the loudest person who gets their question answered, we have everybody put their questions here. We know who asked that question, and then we can go ahead and include, everyone loves oatmeal. I don't know, I love oatmeal. I hope you love oatmeal too. And then when we're done answering that question, we can just click done, and it shows it as marked resolved. So we get not only the ability to organize the questions in a way that is more democratic, but also including all of the discussion information. And if you don't like this crossed out feature on that, no problem. You can just click on Options and go to the conditional format over here. This allows you to change what you want that to be. So maybe I want it to be, instead of a strike through, I just want it to be gray and maybe like a cool purple background. I don't know, whatever feels right to you. You could go ahead and just do that, make it all your own. So there we go, we've got that ability to see it there. So this is a way for you to organize that. And again, this is something we have in every single meeting that we do here at Coda, because it just makes sure that our virtual folks don't ever suffer by being not co-located with everybody else. So that's one of my favorites, the question moderator. The other thing that I think can be really helpful for team members to think through is, how do we want to manage our action items? How do we want to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks? So here what I like to do is, again, I like to make a little bit of infrastructure that our team can work with. I'm going to just also collapse our notes here, just collapse that content. So we just have all of that note stuff under the hood. We could always just expand it again if we wanted to. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make a separate section by going to New and Section, and we're going to call this the Action Item Repository. And we'll go ahead and choose an icon here. Oh, that's kind of funny. It's a little like, yeah. But I think maybe we'll do this. This feels right. And we could, again, add a cover photo. But what we want to do is we want to make a table, because this will allow us to organize all of our action items. So we'll go to Table, like so. We'll choose New Table. And here we'll call this the Action Items. So now what we'll do is here we'll call it the task, or we'll call it the action item, I guess. We'll call it the owner, and maybe a due date, or whatever else we might want to include here. So we're going to make the owner, in this case, a people column. And then the due date right over here is going to be a date. And we're just going to leave that for now. Action items, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to head over here to the Team Meeting Hub, and I'm going to make a button at the top of our notes section by doing that /button. And we're going to call this the action item button. And we're going to call this log an action item. And again, we're going to use the same action as before, the adding of a row. But in this case, we're going to add it to the action items table. And we're going to open that row for editing and make it green with a check mark. That just feels right. So now what happens is when we're taking our notes, no matter where it is, so we are just starting typing, and maybe someone on our team says, oh, you know, we really need to reach out to this vendor to chat about X, Y, and Z. What we can do is just click on, okay, great, let's log an action item. It'll open it up. talk to vendor about X, Y, and Z. We'll say, all right, who's going to own this? Great, it's going to be you, Maria. Awesome. And the due date, let's have that done by our next meeting on Monday. So now we've got that logged. We can then keep going with our notes, just like so. And then if we head to that action item repository, notice we've got all of that here. And maybe the last thing that we want to do is we want to be able to have this be marked complete. So what we could do is say, all right, let's add a plus. We could do a select list or a button. I like doing select list personally. And this is done. And what we could do is then add those different items. So we could say done, in progress, not started, and maybe blocked. We want to have all those things there. So now this is currently not started. Maria hasn't done anything yet, and we can see all of that here. Now, before when we were doing the question moderator, we had that ability to add conditional formatting. I love doing conditional formatting when it comes to status, because looking at this, I don't know immediately what is the general trend of how we're doing here. So I'm going to go ahead up to options. We'll go to conditional format, add a rule, give it an action item, and we're going to have it be the done column instead. And here we could say if it's not started, let's have it be like a light gray background and a black font. Then we're going to add another rule here, which is if done is in progress, we want it to be like a yellow background with a dark yellow font. And then you get the idea here. If done is blocked, we want that to just be red all the way through. And maybe we want this to be a red background. And instead of applying just to the done column, we want it to be across all the columns. So we get that really good quick hit. And we'll add one more here, which is if done is done, then we want it to be a nice green background with a good dark green font. So now let's see what happens over here. Notice not started, we have that gray treatment. If I switch it to in progress, it's that nice yellow. If it's not started, if it's done, we see it green. And if it's blocked, it's all red. So again, entirely up to your preferences. But let's say that we only want to see the action items that still need to be completed. We don't need to see all of the finished ones here. So what we could do is we could add a filter. Just click on filter, choose add filter. And here's where we decide, oh yeah, done. I only want to see things that are not done. So now notice that's going to get filtered out of this view. So it still exists. It's not like deleted. It's just not in our active action items anymore. So that's something I really love to do because it allows you to just keep staying in your note flow, then just quickly log that item and move on. The other cool thing is that since those action items are in a table, it means you can reference them. So here's what I mean by that. We could say, Maria worked on at talk to vendor about X, Y, and Z and had a great conversation. Now, what Maria or anyone could do is hover over that and see all of the details about it. So you can actually reference that information everywhere you go and get all of that contextual detail, which I really, really love. So it's just kind of a fun little bonus. And again, you can always just contract those notes. All right, cool. So we've got our managing of action items, our meetings are happening, it's great. So now what we want to do is we want to think about after the meeting. So we've already taken a look at filtering and how you can do some of that filtering to see exactly what you want to see. You can do the same thing with your meeting notes. So if you're working in a table, you could include the meeting type if you wanted to. So maybe we want to include a select list, make it a new one. We'll call it meeting type. And this could be like a team meeting, or we could have a project meeting or urgent, whatever it is, just like that. And then we could add a filter here as well, where we want to just see certain types. Or if you want to get a little fancy about it, you can create a bit of a dashboard if you like. And we're going to do that by adding a select list that's outside of the table. So in Coda language, we call this a control. So we're going to do backslash. I'm going to say a select list. There it is. Notice it's under controls. We'll call this, we'll make it a multiple select list since we might want to see multiple meeting types. And we'll call this choose a meeting type, just so people know what we're talking about. And now we can configure this. So I'm going to right click on that. We're going to name it. So again, we can reference it really easily. So meeting type picker. And then here we can go and say, well, what do we want the selectable items to be inside of this control panel? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to type an equal sign here. And I'm going to do a bit of a formula. Because what I want to do is I want to connect the items in the table to this particular control. So here I would say, okay, I want you to go to the note repository, and I want you to look at the meeting type. So great, we know that it's the team, the project, or the urgent. So I'm saying, all right, Coda, look at notes repository, then look at meeting type. That's what I want my selectable options to be. So now if I click on this drop-down menu, notice we have team, project, and urgent. But there's one final step, which is now connecting the filter of this table to that control. So what we do is we go to filter, just like we did before when we were filtering out those action items. And here we're going to say, great, I want you to look at meeting type. And in this case, we're going to choose the uses interactive filter. So before we used is not, now we're going to use interactive filter. And then we just select which control we want to filter off of. In this case, the meeting type. So now if we head back over here, notice I have none selected, so none are showing up. But if I choose the team meeting option, it's going to show me that team meeting where Jennifer and I were having that conversation with all those images. And notice, oh, cool, Jennifer's added another image here, which is really fun. So we've got those abilities here. Nice way for us to have that connection point. So that's one of the things I really love anytime you want to have a dashboard experience or allow people to explore and find something they're interested in. Adding a control can be helpful, a nice way to filter what you're looking at. Okay, great. So let's head back to our items here. We've filtered, we've added that control. The last thing we want to do is we want to be able to send meeting notes out after the fact. Now, again, you could just copy and paste your notes into an email and send it out, but why not have Coda take care of that for you? So how I like to do it is under our meeting hub is I like to go ahead and just add a button that connects Coda with my email. And we've made that pretty darn easy for you because we have a special little in-doc template, just like that question moderator that we had here. What we can do is we can just click right here, and we're going to go ahead and do \, and we're going to do email a section. Notice that's one of the options we have here. So it's going to pull that in, and what this does is it connects Coda and my email. So it gives me some flavor text, even though this corgi picture is adorable. I'm going to go ahead and just remove that here. How this works is we could go ahead and also just move this button. I'm going to just do a Command X, and I'm going to do Command V just to paste it back. And what we can do is we can now have this button that's going to send this email of the whole section that we've been working in out to everybody who's in this email address table. Now, if I right click on this button, let's see how this is put together. So we've named it so we can reference it. We have the label, email this section to the addresses above. And then we're having it send via Gmail using my Gmail account. And here we're choosing to the email addresses and this. But we've already got this people table up here. So we can actually change this up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove this here. And I'm going to instead go to team updates. So I want them to look at the team updates table, dot the person, and then their email. So what this is going to do is it's going to take a look and it's going to pull them in. So now we've got that set up here. So I don't need this email addresses table anymore. I've decided to link this to something else. And now what we do is we say, okay, we want it to send the team meeting hub, and we're not going to have this disable. We're just going to remove that. And we want it to be blue and maybe that little icon there. So now, if I click on this button, it's going to send me an email version of everything in this section. And you can choose to change whichever section you like. So if we right click on that button, notice we're having it send the team meeting hub, but I could also say, oh, I actually want this to send the action items section instead by doing equals and the action item repository if I wanted to. So it's entirely up to you. In this case, I do think that equals the team hub probably makes more sense just like that. So that's something I love because then again, after the meeting, we can just go boop, click on that. It sends the notes out to everyone and it just saves us all a ton of time. So one of my favorite little additions there. All right, fantastic. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That concludes everything that I had prepared that I wanted to share with all of you today. But the remaining 20 minutes is entirely up to you and your questions. So if you need to see something again, if you have a meeting process that you want to know how to translate into Coda, or if you just have anything Coda related, all of those questions are fair game. Please feel free, post them in the chat field over there on the right side of the screen, or click on the Ask a Question button. Either one is fine by me. I'll be here as long as you need me. Otherwise, if you've got what you need to head to a meeting and you want to open up a Coda doc to take some notes, please have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Let us know how we can support you. We are here to help, and we want to make sure that you are as successful as possible creating those solutions to make a difference for your team and yourself. So let me know how I can be of service. Otherwise, enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you next time. All right. This is where I do my interpretive dance while I wait to see if there are any questions. All right. Any other burning questions I can help with today? Okay. All right. Well, it looks like questions have come to an end. Folks are feeling good. I'll go ahead, close this session out. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found a few things you can start to apply right away. Thank you, Jennifer, for playing along. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all next time.